This is a clip from an earlier live stream. I know you're going to like it, so the link to the full video is down below. Check it out. I'll see you over there.
Then when we point out the fact that she doesn't have evidence or whatever else, we're like, you have to prove her wrong. Like, how do I prove her wrong? This is not an adult conversation at all. That's what I find frustrating with so many of her followers, because I think this is very obvious.
This is very funny because when I started on YouTube, I started discussing, my channel initially started out calling out Black Lives Matter, social justice, and critical race theory. And one of the arguments that I had with people all the time was that just the blanket statement of calling somebody because they have less melanin that they're racist. And I've had this discussion for so many times that when it came to Candace, it just was second nature. I don't have to prove a negative. You do have to prove that Gary is a racist. Prove it. Give me the evidence. And then we'll make the determination from there. I don't have to prove that Gary wasn't at Fort Hakachua. Prove that he was. Just prove it. That's it. But this is the smooth brainness of Candace's supporters. They don't think in those categories. They think because I say it, you have to do it. I don't know if this is because we've had gentle parenting for too many decades, or I don't know. I don't know why, because I say something, you should have to do it. That's insane. Or you have to prove it. No, I don't have to do that. And I'm not beholden to your machinations. So you can go have fun with that. Go play wherever you're going to go play in traffic. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to bend over backwards. I'm not going to do any of that kind of shenanigans. You have fun with that. Have a great day.
Well, what do you think that her side of the argument finds the least compelling about the official narrative at this point?
The official narrative, the 30-06. And this is, to me, that is the, if you want to give an example of Dunning-Kruger, Jason said that Candace has Dunning-Kruger. I could probably list 5-6 different ways that she has it, but I think the bullet from the 30-06 is going to be the biggest, because once it's the caliber of the projectile is clear, and they're like, yeah, this makes sense. This is the bullet. This is the fragments, all that kind of stuff like that. She's going to go completely meltdown mode, because I think that's where she's really been holding on to.
Well, I mean, in some ways, she basically admitted that she was fine with the 30-06 when she came back from her interview with Erica. So
she did mention that. She did. What's it called? Frangible?
They're saying it's a fragmenting bullet, which, okay, well, that makes sense. And then she just moved on. That was after she just basically completely declared Mikey McCoy out of the blue innocent. You know, he was completely vindicated, I guess, because she saw all of his text messages and all his phone records. And that was like such a big deal for months and months and months. And she was just like, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense. And then she's like, oh, and the bullet, it was a fragmenting bullet. She meant frangible bullet.
Okay, she did say, okay, that's what, okay.
Yeah, she meant frangible. That's fine. And that's, you know, and just to move on from those without really like, okay, I was wrong about Mikey McCoy. I was wrong about this, was a little weird.
I think there's a lot of things. And in my opinion, I think the biggest thing is the bullet. But I mean, if when they get in court and they really describe how it happened with diagrams and such like that, and really put this question to bed, to me, I think that's probably a big one. But again, it's not the worst, it's not the only by any means, because there's other things that she's hung up on. But she's kind of given up on those too, tacitly, she won't say that she's wrong. She won't say, hey, Gary, you know, I said that the other day, and, you know, I realized, I look back. Matter of fact, here's one. I posted on Twitter that Candace has never been demonetized. And I said, how dare, I mean, something to the effect of, Candace is running around here saying all this kind of random stuff. Paramount Tactical gets demonetized. Why has Candace never been demonetized? Somebody sent me a link that she had been demonetized, but they weren't correct. They had videos. She has videos demonetized, but not her whole channel. That is a difference. We've all had it happen, whether you use music or you use a clip from a movie. You can have a video demonetized all the time.
I could be wrong. I do think there was a time when she was almost like kicked off of YouTube, or her channel was demonetized. Now, with that being said, this goes back in the good old days when she used to parrot conservative talking points. And, you know, I talked about this on my channel last night. the more that I sat back and observed Candace, what she's good at is she's good at saying things that she knows nothing about with confidence. And
Facts.
she's very good at that. This goes to
Very
the
good.
Dunning-Kruger effect that you're talking about. She can not know anything about a subject, but she'll say it with such utter confidence, or she can be completely wrong. I've seen that many times. She can be completely wrong, not know what she's talking about at all, but say it with such confidence that sounds believable. It's compelling to the average user, listener that doesn't know what she's talking about or doesn't have any expertise in that particular area. And looking back over her career, I think that's where she's always been. Even as conservatives, she never brought anything new to the table. The fact is, we had a female Black conservative, both of which have marketing value, if you will. And we look for that, right? Like we look for like there's a certain appeal to, and that's why she's went from job to job to job always successfully, because like she has some market appeal and she's able to say certain things, but she doesn't bring anything new to the table. She literally parrots what every other conservative is saying, and she does it in a does it well. Way. She does it confidently.
Yes.
And I just remember watching her in when I was a huge Candace Owens fan. I was watching her on Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan. Have you ever watched that interview?
No, I'm sorry. I have not watched the interview. I'm sorry. I've watched
if you haven't watched that interview, and folks, everybody out there, if you haven't watched the interview with Candace Owens and Joe Rogan, I challenge you to go watch it. It's a good interview, because this is where the first time I realized most of what she is doing and saying is very surface level. Joe Rogan started to probe her on not only what she was saying, but why she believed what she's saying, and she fell apart. She looked ridiculous. And at the time, I made a bunch of excuses for her, like, oh, well, whatever. She was having a bad day. But the reality is she wasn't having a bad day. The fact is she doesn't know why she's been saying those things, because she doesn't necessarily believe them. She just knows that it's the thing to say to be popular in the particular circles that she's running at the time.
That is correct.
So, anybody that wants to know about Candace Owens, I highly suggest that you go see that. And that was somebody that's going to sit there with her for 3 hours and really get beyond just the surface level talking points and try to get into her mind as to why she believes what she does, which is what Joe was doing, as he does with just about every person he has on the show. She sounded ridiculous. And, I think people need to go watch that for sure.
And though I haven't watched the Joe Rogan interview, I'll give some other examples so people can probably be like, you know what? I think you're right. Ask yourself, what did she really give new in her quote unquote documentary about BLM? What did she really give new? She didn't. She just got a lot of information together and repackaged it and gave it out. What about the Macrones? Did she get new information? No, she took the author Xavier Prichard's book and those other two people, Amadi Roy and Natasha Ray's information, and repackaged it. And this is a trend. And you go back and look at what she did about Kamala Harris. Sure, she dug into her crates and looked in her, in her back shed and so on and so forth. But a lot of information wasn't really new. And a lot of it later on found out wasn't really true either. So it is, to the point that you're making, I do think that there's something there that she really doesn't. And let's just look at her research now, her investigation now. Come on, for real. Let's stop.
Well, the other thing about Candace is she's very impressionable. She can read one book about a very controversial topic, right? For instance, MK Ultra, or there's been some other ones. The whole Xavier Prichard about Brigitte Macron. She reads one book, sees one video, sees one YouTube, and just like you said, her Dunning-Kruger kicks in. And now she understands, she's a subject matter expert on all of this very one controversial perspective, not going out there and looking for different opposing points of view on this subject, which every subject, I don't care if you're talking about firearms, I don't care if you're talking about auto mechanics, like there are multiple perspectives, and there's probably a lot of truth in all of those.
I know you liked that episode. This is actually a clip from a larger live stream. The link is down in the description, so you can go check it out. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you down there. Grace and peace.